Hi, once again, I welcome to my channel SST Chemistry for the fifth lecture on BCC. We could not finish the atomic mass and molecular mass topic, and I made it into two parts. This is part 2. We learned in the previous part how to determine atomic mass in a very crude manner, that they were all primitive by the law of Dulong and Petit, law of isomorphism. Those have been obsolete now. Now, the modern method of finding the exact isotopic mass, and their abundances, relative abundances, in an instrument called mass spectrometer. This mass spectrometer is a device, is an instrument which was first discovered by Aston, the scientist Aston, in 1919. And since then, there has been a quantum improvement, great improvement in the quality of mass spectrometer by the use of highly superconducting magnets to resolve or to separate all the isotopes present in an element. So mass spectrometer with high resolving power. Resolving power means to separate, to resolve the different isotopes into different parts, not mix with each other. High resolving power is now used to find the exact isotopic masses of all isotopes of an element. Modern mass spectrometers makes use of highly superconducting magnets to separate the isotopes and determine not only their exact isotopic masses, correct up to several places of decimal. As we saw, 34.987894769. I'm just telling from my own. Exact isotopic masses, not only that, but also their relative abundances, 3:1. 98.78% is to 0.02% is to 0.2%. So all these relative abundances and the exact isotopic mass is 15.99789 can be obtained by mass spectrometers. Now let's talk about, although it's not in your syllabus, in your class 11 syllabus, but even class 12 syllabus, it is taught to higher level students in the undergraduate level, in the university, in the college. But I am tempted to talk the principles of the principle underlying mass spectrometer, how to determine the isotopic mass. The physics involved in it is very simple. First, the element is vaporized. It is vaporized, and the vapor of the element is subjected to powerful electron impact. Powerful electron impact. So what happens when the atoms in the vapor state are subjected to powerful electron impact? Then each atom loses one electron from its valence shell and becomes a monopositive ion. Only one electron, because the electron impact energy is so calibrated that it exactly knocks out one electron from each atom. So each atom is converted to monopositive ion. So I have written this equation. X is the atom, different isotopes, atoms, and electron impact furnishes the required energy to knock out one electron. This electron goes with the stream of the electron beam on the other side, and the positive ions are formed. The positive ions carry different masses for different isotopes, because the isotopes are different in their tummies, in their bellies, in their their masses are different. So different positive ions are formed, having different masses. Even if the element is same, but the isotopes carry different masses. They are positive ions now. The loss of one electron does not produce any detectable change in their masses, because the mass of electron is negligibly small. Neglect the mass of one electron. That means, I want to say, presume that the mass of each isotopic atom is same as its monopositive ion, right? Then they are allowed to pass through. This is the second step. After ionization, this step is ionization. Let me annotate. The first step is ionization step. First, the element is vaporized in a chamber and then subjected to high energy electron impact with an electron beam, and each isotopic atoms now converted to isotopic ions having different masses. Second step is the separation stage, is resolution. How to separate them into more than one channel, streams? It is like this. Then they are allowed to pass through electric and magnetic fields to take different curvatures. Whenever a moving charge, electron is a charged particle, and the movement of electron constitutes the passage of a charge. So a moving charged particle under the influence of an electric and magnetic field doesn't go straight. It is deviated, and you can find out the direction of deviation. The mechanical effect that it gets can be known from the Fleming's left-hand rule. So it goes on and deviated and takes a curvature, a circular track, a curvature, and the curvatures are different for different isotopes, isotopic ions, because all are not of same mass. Some heavy isotope ions, they get the lesser curvature because they can't be attracted by the electric and magnetic field to that extent which the lighter isotopes are attracted to a greater extent. So they get a greater curvature. And supposing this is the curvature, the stream containing, supposing chlorine 35 as well as chlorine 37 together, they are entering into magnetic field, for example. This is a poles or north pole, south pole, whatever. Supposing now once it enters, it starts separating. So when it will emerge out of the electric or magnetic field, it will be emerging as two streams, because there were two types of chlorine isotopes. Of course, positive ions. Unless you make it ion, it cannot be deviated by a magnetic or electric field. Fleming left-hand rule will not be applicable as long as it is a neutral atom. Therefore, in the first chamber, we took chlorine containing both type of chlorine, thousands and hundreds of thousands of atoms in the ratio 3:1, and we make electron impact. And this electron comes out, this electron beam comes out along with one electron from each chlorine atom, making them the positive, monopositive ions. Now they are attracted by a magnetic field, first an electric field, then a magnetic field, where separation becomes more and more pronounced, and when they emerge out of the magnetic field, they produce different streams. As many number of isotopes are there in an element, same number of streams are produced. Because the power of resolution now using a superconducting magnet is so high, even if you take tin vapors, there are 10 isotopes and you'll be getting 10 different streams close to each other, and these ions, they fall onto the detector. There is an electronic detector. These ions, positive ions, they produce current, microcurrent in the detector, and the concentration, the relative abundance of those isotopes in a particular channel, particular stream, produces the proportionate amount of current, microcurrent. More is the abundance, greater microcurrent it produces in the detector. These are detectors. Very, very sensitive detectors. And the amount of current produced by the striking of these streams of positive ions on the detector depends on how many numbers they are coming. If 35 isotope is coming 3 times more, then the current produced at the detector, which is receiving chlorine 35 plus ions, will be 3 times greater than the detector producing current which receives chlorine 37 ions, right? Now see what happens. I will explain to you. Although it doesn't belong to your course, I am really tempted, because I used to give course not only for board examination, but also to arouse your passion in the field of chemistry, in the field of science, because spectrometry is truly a subject of physics. So as many number of isotopes are there, same number of ionic streams with the different radii of curvature are formed and are converted into microcurrent at the detector, which is interfaced with the computer nowadays. The magnitude of current gives the relative abundance, that is the y coordinate. We will get a graph. The positions in the x-axis relative to the carbon-12 standard gives their isotopic masses. The x-coordinate, the placement of that line, that graph, just looks like a line, a vertical line. And the placement of the line along x-axis, that placement, that position in the x-axis, gives you the mass of that particular isotope, correct up to several places of decimal. And the y-axis, the height of the line, the tall or a dwarf line, that will tell you the relative abundance. You can measure the height. Nowadays, computational method has made our work very, very easy, and it's giving the ratio in percentage, calculating by itself, and also giving the exact atomic mass on the side of the line. Right? I will show you a graph, mass spectrograph here. Now this is the ionization chamber. Ionization chamber, where electron impact, this is called electron impact EI, that hits and goes away, converting into positive ions. Different types of isotopes will have different masses. Electron has a negligible mass, so the exit of one electron from each atom hardly changes the mass. So we have to presume that the mass of the atom is same as the mass of the ion. And now once it enters into the field, magnetic and electric field, first electric I have not shown here, and only I have shown one field, say magnetic field. Then it turns, it takes curvature, because a moving charge is like a current. So just a current carrying conductor or a moving charge passing through a magnetic field is experiencing or will experience a mechanical force which is at right angles to the direction of the motion and the direction of magnetic field. So the magnetic field is so designed that all these take a curvature, a circular turn with different radii of curvature. Now this one is the lightest isotope, and this is the heaviest isotope. The heaviest isotope cannot be attracted by the magnetic field to that extent as the lightest isotope. And the intermediate isotopes having intermediate masses lie in between the first, the maximum curvature line and the minimum curvature line. So they will be falling in between that. So as many number of isotopes are there, same number of, this is a detector. The detector here, it will get a sense of current. Immediately it will receive a microcurrent, and the magnitude of the current is directly proportional to the number. Supposing here it is, say, in the ratio, say it is in the ratio 98.78. This is the this is 98.78 oxygen and the percentage, and this is 0.02%, 17, and this is 0.2%. I am talking of oxygen. This is 16 isotope, 17 isotope, 18 isotope. So they will be producing current at the respective places of contact with the detector, and this current will be 98.78 times that of, if the total current is 100%, then out of 100%, 98.78% will be that of oxygen 16. And the x-axis, I'll just tell you the graph. This is a mass spectrograph. This is not for any element and isotopes. Just I'm telling you the pattern, how the lines are produced. So this is just a mass spectrograph. So there are so many masses. So this line, and this is the tallest line, and this height, that gives you the relative abundance in percentage. And this is a small line, that means, this is the small abundance. And the position, whether it is 30.5 or 29.8, that position, that gives you the mass per unit charge, because we have knocked out one electron. So m by z is same as m, because deliberately we have removed one electron. So m by z is 1, so we have removed one electron and converted to monopositive ion. So m by e or m by z is same as m. So we get the isotopic, and in fact, when you see in a mass spectrometer in any laboratory, you will find it will be written here inside 42.977A9248, like this. Here you can't see, but the micro calculation that will be done by the computer, because the resolving power of the magnet is so high that it can distinguish to this very, very minute extent, and it gives correct isotopic masses, correct up to several places, maybe 10 places of decimal. Although here it is not possible to show, but at every line it will give you, and percentage also it will give you in between bracket 40. This is 43 is the and the percentage is 100. Supposing it is 100, it's not exactly 100. Say it will be giving you say bracket 99.78%, and this is say 30%. That will give you the abundance, and this 57, exactly 57, no, it will be 56.9877. I'm just giving for fun. I don't know exact value. It's there in the literature for every isotope. I can't create from my own memory, from my own mind. So just for fun, I'm giving any damn values, right? Understand this. Now see, if this is chlorine gas containing two different isotopes, 37 and 35, and they are ionized by electron impact, and the two are separated inside an electric field and or magnetic field, and this is the 35 isotope and this is the 37 isotope. The heavier one will be deflected less, the lighter one will be deflected more, right? And they will be captured by a detector. This will produce 3 times more current than this, because the relative abundance of 35 is 3 times greater than that of 37. So you find this height is 3 times greater than this height. And the exact position here you may find in the vicinity of 35, but somewhere the computer will write 34 point, exactly I have copied the exact value, 34.96885, and 37 will be exactly 36.96590. And the percentage wise it is 75.76 exactly it is giving. We are approximating as 3:1, but actually it's 75.76 and 24.24, but for simplicity we are taking 75:25 or 3:1 for calculation, right? You understood how atomic isotopic masses and their abundances, if all these two things are known, then we can find out the average atomic mass, this into that, this into that, this into that. It's isotopic mass into its abundance. Isotopic mass into abundance divided by 100. So you get the average atomic mass that will be used for our calculation, right? Then what is gram atomic mass? What is gram atomic mass? Obviously, when atomic mass expressed in gram, only atomic mass, the unit is U or Cu, carbon unit, or simply unified atomic mass unit U. But if it is gram atomic mass, when we say 23 gram of sodium, means it is 1 gram atomic mass. So 1 gram atomic mass of an element contains, tell me, 1 gram atomic mass of an element contains 1 mole of atoms. 1 mole number wise is this, we have already discussed, the Avogadro's constant. And we also know that it is not due to Avogadro this number came, but it was named after Avogadro. So 1 mole, supposing 23 grams of sodium, 108 grams of silver, 1 gram of hydrogen, 16 gram of oxygen, 14 gram of nitrogen, 35.5 gram of chlorine, 80 gram of bromine, they contain the same 1 mole of atoms. This many more number, this many one number, but 1 mole of atoms is present in 1 gram atomic mass of any element. So let us solve this problem. You tell me. You just stall the video, pause the video and answer. How many moles and how many atoms of each element be present in the amounts given against each? 2.3 gram of sodium. If 23 gram is equal to 1 mole, 2.3 gram is equal to 10 times less, 0.1 mole. And if 1 mole is Avogadro's number of atoms, so the number of atoms N is equal to 6.022 into 10 to the power 22. Why 22? Because 0.1 into Avogadro's number. 0.1 is 10 to the power minus 1. So it remains 10 to the power 22 instead of 23. So 2.3 gram of sodium is equal to 1 mole, because gram atomic mass is equal to 1 mole. So 2.3 gram is equal to 0.1 mole. And 1 mole contains 10 to the 23 atoms. 6 into 10 to the 23. So 0.1 mole contains 10 times less. Similarly, you can find all these things at your homes, and you will try to practice, get more confidence. Where the atomic mass of chlorine is 35.5, and this is, and in the note, lecture note, you will find the answer, so you can match with them. So oxygen has an atomic mass of 16, and silver has an atomic mass of 108, right? So I have wanted 1.08 kg of silver is equal to how many moles of Kg? How many moles of silver? Ag, and it contains how many atoms of silver. So you can find out if 108 grams is equal to 1 mole, then 1080. So 1.08 kg means 1080 grams is how many moles? And if 1 mole is equal to Avogadro's number of atoms, so that many moles contain how many number of atoms, that you can find out. Similarly, we have another question which I will do here one with you, and you will be asked to do at home for practice, right? How many moles and how many atoms of each element oh no, the same one I thought of. I'll be doing all one by one with you, so I gave a space, but I now think that these are so simple that you can do it of your own. And while I'll send you the note, I mean the PDF note, I will myself solve it and you will match it, right? So we are almost at the end. Then molecular mass. Molecular mass is nothing but we compare a molecule with 1 by 12 part of one carbon 12 atom. The denominator is same as atomic mass, but in the numerator we have mass of one molecule, right? So the unit is also U or Dalton or Cu. And you know how to find molecular mass. You add the atomic masses of all elements present in that formula. That will give you the molecular mass. And just like 1 gram atomic mass contain 1 mole of atoms, similarly 1 gram molecular mass, also called 1 gram molar mass, is the mass of 1 mole of molecules. There it was atoms, and here molecules. So the term mole can be used for atoms, ions, as well as molecules, electrons, protons, everything. So 1 gram molar mass, for example, carbon dioxide, 44 gram is the gram molecular mass. Carbon 12 and 16 2s are 32. So 44 grams is equal to 1 mole of carbon dioxide. And it contains Avogadro's number of molecules, not atoms, molecules. Similarly, sulfuric acid is, say, 98 gram is the molecular mass. That is also 1 mole of sulfuric acid. That contains also the same number of Avogadro's number of molecules. Now, how to determine molecular mass? Just like we learned how to determine the atomic mass by different methods. First, primitive methods we abandoned, and you will not find the Dulong and Petit's law in any textbook nowadays. So also law of isomorphism. But I thought of discussing with you right? So molecular mass can be determined by Victor Mayer's method, which we have extensively studied. First you find out Vd, mass of certain volume of vapor divided by mass of same volume of hydrogen. You remember? You vaporize a liquid, volatile liquid, that vapor will displace equal volume of air at certain temperature and pressure. And you measure the volume after leveling experiment, the temperature, the aqueous tension is known, the temperature, and then convert it to STP, and then find if 1 milliliter at STP hydrogen 0.000089, then that many milliliter will have a mass equal to how much. Then the ratio between the mass of that volatile liquid which has been vaporized by mass of hydrogen, same volume of hydrogen, gives Vd, and twice of Vd is molecular mass, right? Discussed before. And gram molar volume method we have done several times. We will be doing once again. For gaseous substance you can also use gram molar volume method, GMV method. If this many milliliters at STP weighs this much, then 22,000 ml, 400 ml of the same gas at STP will weigh how much? That is bound to be its molecular gram molecular mass, right? And you can use ideal gas equation, PV is equal to nRT. N in place of number of moles, you write mass by molecular mass. W by M, capital M, or small m by capital M, so that you can find out capital M. So these are all for gaseous substances. And the Victor Mayer's method is for volatile liquids which vaporize below 100 degrees Celsius. You know, the outside temperature is water vapor at 100 degrees Celsius. But for all others, mass spectrometry, the one which we discuss for isotope determination of isotopic mass, is also applicable for determining the molecular mass of different compounds and even elemental molecules like N2, O2, like that. But how it is done, I won't discuss more about mass spectrometry for determining the molecular masses of compounds or molecular masses of molecules. Just you know that the correct molecular mass can be experimentally determined for every substance by mass spectrometer. For gaseous substance, you have GMV method, you have ideal gas equation, you have VD method, and so on. So let us solve gram molar volume method. We have done several times. 22.4 liter of any gas at STP weighs 1 gram molecular mass. So from the mass of a given volume of gas at certain temperature and pressure, its molecular mass can be found out. First, by converting the volume in the given conditions to STP condition, and then by using combined gas equation, and then that many volume at STP weighs, because mass will never change, weighs that many gram, so 22,400 ml will weigh how much? So here is a problem for you. We have done several times, and it's a handy exercises, very simple exercise for us. But let us do that. 80 milligram is how many gram? 0.08 gram. I'm sorry. 80 milligram of a liquid on vaporization occupied 24.9 ml at this temperature and this pressure. Right? I think similar kind of problem we have done using Victor Mayer's method. That means it on vaporization displaced 24.9 milliliter of air at this temperature and pressure. Aqueous tension was given, but here there is no such experiment, VD experiment. Simply it is telling that on vaporization it occupied this many milliliter. That means it is not collected over water. So it is giving the volume of dry vapor and the pressure of the dry vapor. So no question of any subtraction of aqueous tension. So but we have to convert to STP first. So P1 V1 by T1 is equal to P2 V2 by T2. That means P1 is 740 into V1 is 24.9 milliliter. Let it be same. Don't change the units. But the Celsius has to be converted to Kelvin. 27 plus 273 is 300 is equal to normal pressure is 760. Volume is how much? How we are going to find, and temperature is 270 normal standard temperature. So from here I got V2 is equal to 22 point, you will do of your own, 22.062 ml. Now see, it was 24.9 at the given conditions, but at STP condition, the value is 22, almost 22. So then let us try. Let us start. 22.062 ml at STP weighs the same because the mass will not change. If you change the temperature and pressure, then volume will change. If you change one, the other two will change, but the mass will not change. It weighs 0.08 gram. So 22,400 ml at STP will weigh how much? That is bound to be the gram molecular mass of that particular substance. And I am getting the value 81.23 gram. So the molecular mass is 81.23. Just you drop gram. You also drop U. U is also a unit. That will give you the absolute mass of one atom. But molecular mass simply is a pure number, which says how many times it is heavier than 1/12 part of a carbon-12 atom. So you need not give any unit. But if you give unit U, we shall study later in our mole concept chapter that it will mean the mass of a single atom in U. But if you don't give anything, it is a relative mass. If you put gram, then that is 1 mole of molecules or 1 mole of atoms. If it is atomic mass, 1 mole of atoms. If it is a molecular mass, 1 mole of molecules, and so on. This problem you could have done in an alternative manner. If you would have also used PV is equal to nRT method. How? Pressure is 740 millimeter, make it atmosphere, 740 by 760. Volume is 24.9, make it liter. N is mass is 0.08 by molecular mass, because number of moles N is equal to mass by molecular mass. R 0.082 because you have taken in liter and atmosphere, into temperature 300. From here, in one step you can find out AM is equal to how much. It will be coming close to 81.23, maybe slight variation, because if you change the method, then the answer is slightly changed because of the different approximation level that you are making here. It is only 2 digit. You are using R value, which has got 2 significant digit. And maybe here you have taken more significant digits. So the answers in the first or second place of decimal is obviously will be changed, right? So whichever method you like, a BD method, vapor density method, or GMB method that we did, or PV is equal to nRT method, whatever you use, the same conclusion you will make. The concept is same. And now we come to the close. We have several assignments for you. I have given you the answers, and this time I am planning not to give the solution here in every notes because if I found in the LOC program the situation was more very, very simple for many participants in that program, that everyone claimed that they have completed the assignment within no time. So in this case I am not giving you the solution, but later on I will be giving you the solution as a supplement to each course, each topic. Bye bye. See you in the next program of BCC, that is maybe mole concept, the most important mole concept, in which many of you are struggling even from your junior school days. You are not having a clear picture on that. Even if you say mole concept, but you are unclear about it. So till then, bye bye.